So I don't know where to start with this, aside from saying I'm not entirely happy about this, right? But I did it, so I have to own it. And here I am bringing you another video games pickup video. Now, I said I was going to do these quarterly this year or as see fit, and this isn't one of those as see fit moments because I only did a video about a month and a half ago, I think, and I was not expecting to do this again. But here we are. I'm not going to say this is a quarter video, right? This is just video games pickup video 3 of 2026. And we have a decent amount of things to talk about. So between, I guess, Prime Day and Woot had a sale and just some other cool things that came out and I came across, I picked up a decent amount of things. So I want to talk about first the fact that I picked up 2 Retrobit controllers, and they are the wireless Sega Genesis controller and the wireless Sega Saturn controller. Now, did I really see a need for these? Probably not, but at the same time, a little bit, right? Because I picked these up in hopes of cleaning up the wires of my gaming setup here in my game room, because there were kind of wires everywhere, and I figured I might as well see if there are any decent wireless controllers out there. And Retrobit controllers are actually like officially Sega partnered and branded. So, you know, I like that they have like cool boxes, cool aesthetic that are true to the original consoles. I looked at reviews for both of these. They're decent enough from what I'm going to use them for. I haven't actually used them yet, so I can't give a full-on review or thought, but I know that, you know, they're wireless controllers for the systems that they claim to be for, so that'll help me out a little bit, especially if I want to move one of those systems to my room and like play it in bed at night. A wireless controller would definitely help. And I picked up a console this month that my friend offered to sell me that I didn't even know he had. And I guess the reason I didn't know he had it was because he claims he only played it like once or twice and wasn't a big fan of. That's why he was selling it. And that is the Atari VCS, complete with a box that doesn't close. Now, I wanted a VCS for a while, not because I thought it was going to be this super like amazing console. It's an Atari console, right? That was just pretty much releasing old school games. I think this has like 100 built-in retro games and like just games from like the Atari shop channel, if you want to call it that. The system itself isn't super powerful, but one of the things that I was always intrigued about is the fact that it doubles and you can dual boot it as a PC of sorts, whether you want to put Windows on it, probably Linux or whatnot. And I thought that this might just be cool having as like a dedicated like second computer somewhere. So I picked it up, and plus I found out that he had the version of it I would have wanted, as well as all the boxes and stuff. So like shout out to my buddy for that, for keeping this in like pristine condition. I guess it's easy to do when you don't play the system much. But again, all of this stuff. Apparently there's an Antstream arcade for this. I don't know what that is, but that's kind of cool. But yeah, he had the wood grain version of the system, which keeps it like classic to the Atari 2600. Now this system is relatively heavy, you know, for what it's worth. So I'm kind of intrigued by it. Very clean. 4 USB ports, HDMI, Ethernet, AC power. Like, it's a nice like looking device. I'm not gonna lie. I know what to expect for it, which is why I only paid about like $110 for it. We agreed on. So, you know, it's not like he charged me an arm and a leg for these things, because they still go new for I think like 180, 190, things along those lines. So the fact that it's basically complete in box and decent condition. I do want to point out though, even though I haven't hooked it up yet, the controller, the non-joystick controller, like the actual like modern looking controller, actually does feel kind of nice. It does kind of remind me a little bit of like a Ouya controller a little bit, but it's not uncomfortable. So I can see myself liking this. It reminds me of like a Switch Pro controller. It's clicky. I like the red button. Aside from that, you know, good condition system. I'm happy for what I paid for it. Haven't hooked it up yet. I'm on vacation this week though, so I might hook this up and play around with it, see if I like it. Again, I have my expectations for what the VCS is, so I'm not expecting like a AAA modern console by any chance. I remember there were so many like articles about this system when it first came out. There was hype about it, and you know, it's Atari, right? Were we expecting Atari to deliver like a PlayStation, Xbox level console? I wasn't. I didn't even know if it would match up to like a Nintendo level console. But again, the fact that it's basically a PC with like a separate interface, cool enough for that. Now, I went up to Digital Press today, and that's kind of what intrigued me to do this video because a lot of games we have to get through. I picked up 2 GameCube games. One of them, which is Luigi's Mansion, I should have had in the console collection already. It's kind of sacrilegious that like be collecting GameCube games and probably not have Luigi's Mansion. So finally picked this up. The other one is Batman Vengeance. Now, I know this ain't a great game, but I do have Batman Dark Tomorrow, and that is a game that is also not that great. But being the Batman fan that I am, it's I think worth picking up for that sense. I'll add these 2 games to like the Halloween games I play this year. Hopefully, I just feel like they'll fit the mood. Now, I picked this up off, I think, the Woot sale, and that's Code Vein 2. I thought I had this, but going through my games, I didn't. Unless I do, and I still don't know where I put it. But I liked the original Code Vein. I thought it was cool. I thought it had a nice story to it. I thought it was like fun that it was like an anime style Dark Souls, and it kept me into it more than Dark Souls games usually do because of that JRPG kind of aesthetic. So I know this isn't as the same as the first game, but I'm hoping to like this. Now, speaking of Luigi's Mansion from 10 minutes ago, Woot also had a sale on Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Now, this is like the international version. It's rated PG on here, so I don't know what region this is from. Actually, I do now, looking at it. Importer, Australia. This is the Australian version of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I usually get PEGI ratings, which are European, if I'm not mistaken, when I get like imported international kind of versions of games when they're on sale. But to get an Australian one's kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. This will be on the Halloween list. One game I had to pick up just because of the sheer factor of it is Halo Campaign Evolved. Now, this is a recreation, I believe, in Unreal, of the first Halo that came out many, many moons ago, probably, I think, 2001 on the original Xbox. And it was Xbox's flagship franchise for, like, ever, if they're still the flagship, if you would call it that today. You know, no one ever thought Halo would come to PlayStation, even though, like, the original Halo, before it was an FPS, before Bungie got bought by Microsoft, back in the early 2000s, it was in development for the PS2, if I'm not mistaken. However, it was like a third-person game, not an FPS. So to have this on PlayStation, I had to do it for the same reason that I bought Gears of War when that came out. It's a franchise I never thought I would see on a Sony console. But here we are, Xbox Game Studios, Halo, on PlayStation. I'm intrigued. Now, I picked up a game, moving on, called Hell Is Us. This was also on sale. I don't know much about this, but it looks kind of cool. It says, trust your senses, ready your blade. It kind of looks spooky. Maybe I'll play this during Halloween as well. If you look at the back, it's just kind of like dark and sinister looking. I might like this. Now, a game that I picked up without doing any research, just because I like the series, is Disgaea Mayhem. Now, I know this hasn't gotten great reviews across the board, And I thought this was just a regular Disgaea game, but no, this is a like hack and slash Disgaea game, similar to I guess the Warrior series. It's not a long game for what I was reading anyway, but I do like the art style. Disgaea always has like funny humor, always has interesting characters with personality. So I think I'll like this one. I'm happy it's not super long because I don't have time for long games at the moment as I buy all these games. So one interesting thing moving on that I picked up was a bunch of Dreamcast reproductions. I found a seller online on Etsy, and I think they have a Shopify account as well, that has created nice, like looking, almost authentic Dreamcast games that they're not homebrews, they're reproductions, but they're English fan translations of games that never came out here stateside. So I wanted to pick up 2 of these in particular, and then I just kind of kept going through the rest of the list and found 2 others I wanted. So the 2 I picked up in particular are Rent-A-Hero #1 and Sega Gaga. Now I own the Japanese version of both of these games. Sega Gaga I'm looking at right now because I have the collector's edition that came with like this shirt, which is interesting. And Rent-A-Hero, I first played this back in like 2004, and I loved it for what I could understand of it because I don't know Japanese, so I was just playing it on Dreamcast, trying to figure out what was going on. And at that time, neither of these games, until recently, had English fan translations come out. So the fact that it's here now, and I have a Dreamcast that can play these, like let's look at Rent-A-Hero real quick because I like the quality they put into these because they have like the little Japanese sleeve that comes with it. The manual is just like a generic manual, but it comes with like a little trading card in each game. And even just like the disc itself, you could tell that it's not like a authentic Dreamcast disc, but they do quite a good job on it. Like it doesn't just look like a CDR with writing on top of it. Like they put a little bit of care into these, and I like that. So these 2 games are games that were always on my radar. Again, I partially planned on playing Sega Gaga, holding up Google Translate and wanting to just beat that game because it's such a obscure, kind of quirky type of RPG on the Dreamcast. It's basically the Dreamcast's like swan song because you're an employee at Sega trying to fight the other corporations and whatnot. And the English translation to that game only came out, I think, like within the last couple months. So yeah, to finally be able to play this will be cool. Now the other 2 games I picked up, one is Evil Twin, Cyprian's Chronicles. Now, I own this on PC. I have it on PC. I've done a lot of patches to it to get it running at modern resolutions, running at decent speed, but I kind of first discovered this for the Dreamcast because it's a game made by Ubisoft, and it was never released stateside, even though I believe it had a European release and a Japanese release. So to get this in a version where I could just have it in the collection, because this was the version that intrigued me about it from the first discovery, is going to be cool. I might stop playing the PC version, probably not, to just play the Dreamcast one, because it's an interesting game. It's very quirky. It's like it kind of reminds me of like a weird fever dream, as if like Chucky was in a platformer in this like weird realm, because the whole world and aspect reminds me of like a rare type of platformer, like a Banjo-Kazooie type game with just like dark undertones, at least from what I've played so far. I'm not super far into the game on PC, but it's going to be nice to have it here. Now, the other game I got from this seller that I had never heard of is Seven Mansions Ghostly Smile. Now, this also looks like a survival horror game, I guess. Terror reveals itself mansion by mansion. It looks like you play as 2 different characters. I saw that this had decent reviews online, so I was like, all right, you know, the guy isn't selling these repros for an absorbent amount of price. They're very, very affordable. So 4 of them, I'll try them out. Maybe I'll go back to the shop, see what I got. after that, even though I did get another repro from him that's a little special that we're gonna talk about later on. So this game, this isn't a game, this is a movie, so we can put that aside. This game, I meant to put it in the last video. This is Mega Man Battle Network 6, Cyber Beast Gregar. I totally forgot this was out there to put in the video, and I found it after I recorded it, and I didn't feel like retroactively adding the footage. I got this because this was the one Mega Man Battle Network game for the Game Boy Advance I did not have growing up, even though I played it. So within the spirit, if you want to call that, of finally beating the Battle Network collection on the Nintendo Switch, I felt like I should just go out and get the cart, right? It's only right. So here it is. Now I picked up Pikmin 4. This was on sale. I think it was on sale in Prime. I think a bunch of these are Prime Day games, and I don't remember if I got them on Prime Day. Because I thought in my head Prime Day was last video, but it might have not been, right? So Pikmin 4. I have not really ever been a super big fan of the Pikmin series. Pikmin 3 I liked on the Wii U. Pikmin 1 got me so angry when I played it on GameCube. Pikmin 2 was a little bit better, right? And I think Pikmin 1 killed me so much because 1, I didn't know what I was doing, and 2, I felt like there were time limits in that game, and I don't like working under pressure that way. Especially in a game, right? Like in life, I could do it. In a game, I like to relax and take my time for things. That's like why end of games for like certain series, I can't even think of one to give an example, but like there's times where you've beaten a final boss at a game and you have X amount of time to like escape the building before it like blows up. And if you don't, it's game over, and it's literally like the last thing you have to do. That gives me so much pressure that I don't like. But hopefully Pikmin 4 is fun. I don't know if I've ever read reviews on this. I don't know if I ever wanted to, but it's here now. Now, a game that I was skeptical about picking up for the Switch 2 was Hogwarts Legacy. And the only reason is I have this game on PS5. I've beat this game on PS5. And I know the Switch 1 version of this game was quirky because the Switch 1 wasn't super powerful to handle the normal version of the game. So you kind of got like a weird dialed back version of the game on the Switch 1, which kind of reminds me of like Chamber of Secrets between the PS2 and the GameCube, because in the GameCube version, you couldn't run on the grass in Chamber of Secrets, whereas like on the PS2 and Xbox, you had free roam. And that's kind of what Hogwarts Legacy reminded me of, except it was a lot worse. And I kind of wanted the Switch 1 version of the game just to see that quirky version, but it was on sale. And it was a fun game. I'm not gonna lie, as someone who loves Harry Potter and that universe, I like this game, and I want to play it again on the Switch 2 just to see how well it plays. Now, I was in the mood for some PSVR games. So I picked up a game called Captain Toonhead versus the Punks from Outer Space. Now, I know nothing about this game. However, from looking at the pictures of it, and me wanting to add it to my PSVR 2 collection, this game looks quirky. This game looks interesting. It looks fun. VR games, I don't think are inherently super long, but it kind of has like a nice like art style, cartoony. I think I'll like this. Then I picked up a game called The Ninth Charnel. I don't know what that means, but it looks like another survival horror game. Horrors long entombed. Await to greet your fall. This might be in the Halloween list when I'm being honest, because I didn't have like a super amount of Halloween games to play this year that I'm starting. I think the first week of September, I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing and just play Halloween games versus what I'm playing, just to kind of get through the collection a little bit. Now, it looks interesting. It reminds me of The Chant, just based on the picture. And The Chant was an interesting game, so maybe this is going to be just as fun. Now, I picked up Rayman's 30th Anniversary Collection. I like Rayman. Rayman's a fun series, especially being a 90s kid. Like, I played the original Rayman on, I think, PS1, and I have it on PC. I have Rayman 2 on the Dreamcast. Rayman 3 I have on PC as well. But to have like an actual physical version, it's the 30th anniversary. It comes with like all the bonus features. It looks like interviews and stuff. So, Rayman's a timeless game from that era. So, why not? Speaking of timeless games from that era, it's the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. I didn't want to pay full price for this. I'm going to be honest. You get a lot of games on here. And Mortal Kombat, again, kind of defined the early 90s into the mid 2000s and even modern day for just being a gruesome fighting game. Mortal Kombat was one of those games that helped influence the ESRB and the rating system because of the blood. But I got this for like $25, right? The reason I picked this game up is because of the two obscure games that are on here. And it's Special Missions, I think it's called, in Mythology Sub-Zero. Those are games that I've heard are awful, but I wanted to play them on the original PlayStation. I didn't want to buy them though, right? And they're included on here, so they were kind of oddly the driving force for me to get the Legacy Collection. Yeah, you got Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, and 4, multiple versions of them, whether it's like the arcade version, the console version, or the handheld versions for some of them, I believe, as well. So that's kind of cool. Old school Mortal Kombat, though, was never my thing because, I was never really that good at it. It was very fast-paced, the combos, the fatalities. I got good at it at some point because I remember doing a lot of babalities and friendships just for the heck of it in certain games. I just don't remember which ones. It's been like 20 years since I've gone back to those original ones, but we'll be playing these soon. Now, going back to the repros, I picked up for the Sega CD a repro of Snatcher. Now, hear me out on this. Snatcher has been released on the Sega CD here in the States. However, the price is incredibly high. And this is mostly just a point-and-click adventure game. I didn't know if I had it in me to pay the price for Snatcher. And I think it's only ever been released on the Sega CD stateside. Like Police Knots has never been released here stateside in any fashion. And those are two early Kojima games from that time period before Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, not before Metal Gear, but Metal Gear Solid makes sense. That are worth playing because I've heard the stories in these are fantastic. They're very narrative driven. So, the Sega CD, you don't need anything special on the original models. I don't even know if on the top loader models you do to just play CDRs. I figured I would buy this. Feel a little guilty about it. And maybe I will then, if it's a great game, add the full version down the line. Now, let's go to a couple more Switch 2 games and Switch games. I picked up Mouse PI for Hire. This game reminds me of old school Disney. It's in black and white, it looks like. And it's an FPS, but it's just like cartoony. It kind of gives like a vibe of Who Framed Roger Rabbit at the same time to me. And, it has just a really, really like quirkiness to it, right? Like you look at the font, the art style, the black and white aesthetic. It gives that noir vibe. And yeah, all for it. I know it's gotten decent reviews. I've heard it's fun. I just want it to be something that like really catches my eye. So going to some other Switch games that I picked up, we'll go to this one. This is a Switch 2 game, and it's Hades 2. Now, the original Hades I have not played yet. I have it on the PlayStation 5, but people loved it. I remember hearing all the rave reviews about Hades 1. And for Hades 2, it was, I believe it's a Switch exclusive to an extent. I might be wrong about that, but I figured I'd play the first one if I liked it. Might as well play the second one too. It was on sale. People have talked really well about Hades 2 as well, so I hope to like it. Then, for the Switch one, I picked up Donkey Kong Returns HD. This was a Wii game that got ported up, right? And it's Donkey Kong Country Returns. I know what to expect from it. It's a Donkey Kong platformer. I remember this being a game people loved when I was a kid. So I figured I might as well finally give it a shot. Now, another Halloween game is the House of the Dead 2 remake. This is apparently the Infect edition, not Infected edition. Well, maybe, right? Because it looks like there's a little apostrophe, but then it would be like Infect edition. Are we supposed to say it as one word? Anyway, House of the Dead 2 came out back in like the 90s, if not the early 2000s, and they remade the first one a while ago, probably in like 2021, 2022, and I played that, and I loved it. It was fun. I've heard that this version of the game might not play that great on the Switch, but maybe on the Switch 2 it has a little bit of improvements, just based on optimization. But again, it's an old school game, right? House of the Dead 2, it was a light gun game at the time, so it should still just be fun to play, right? Then one of the big hitters was Star Fox. Now, from my knowledge, this is a recreation of Star Fox 64 for the N64, which in itself has been reimagined multiple times, but not like this before, to the graphical extent, to the fact that Nintendo is Nintendoing right now, right? And actually producing like 4K games and like HD games, where Nintendo was always the company for the longest time that didn't really hit up to par with other consoles. So I've heard this is fantastic. I know it's not a long game, but I look forward to playing this new version of Star Fox. Another game I picked up was Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage. Now, it's a fighting game, right? I used to play Virtua Fighter on the Dreamcast, so I know what to expect with these games. I've played a few of them on the PS2 back in the day as well, and I haven't played a Virtua Fighter in many years, so I figured might as well give it a shot here. Now, I picked up a game called Reanimal Deluxe Edition. I don't know much about this game, aside from the fact that it looks kind of like a spooky game. It kind of gave me vibes of Little Nightmares to an extent from looking at the pictures, but I'm not entirely sure that's it, because it says enter a world of rich, unsettling horror in a tale of orphaned siblings fighting to survive in a hellish wasteland. Now, that's one hell of a line to draw you in, right? But how well does the game play? I look to find out soon. Now, my final three games aren't anything, I don't want to say amazing, because they're probably fine enough games, but they're PS5 games. First, Life is Strange Reunion. Now, I've played pretty much every Life is Strange game before. I like the stories. Some of them have been better than others. Like, let's get it straight. Narrative games, the pacing has to be a certain way for me to like it, because if it gets too boring and not enough is going on, I lose interest in the game, and it gets really hard for me to go back and want to play them. But I just beat Life is Strange True Colors not too long ago. No, Double Exposure. True Colors I beat a long time ago. Double Exposure I beat a couple weeks ago. And that was only like a 12, 13 hour game, and it felt like it took forever for me. The story wasn't even that bad. It's just, it started getting confusing for me in this, not the narrative, but just like trying to figure out what I had to do. And it has like a checklist of objectives, and some reason that wasn't even clicking with me. So Reunion, I hope, fixes that. I know it kind of picks up the story more of the original Life is Strange, so I'm looking forward to that because I really enjoyed that game. So then I picked up Mafia: The Old Country. I like the Mafia series. I really do. I know this game is a little more linear than the other Mafia ones, which were open world, kind of like a GTA. But for it to be a game based in like 1904 Sicily, as it says, I'm intrigued, because even with like a linearness to it, that's a nice like plot to have, right? The birth of the Mafia. So I look forward to that. Now, the last game I picked up is Tales of Berseria Remastered. I was iffy with picking up this game, I'm going to be honest, because I have Tales of Berseria for the PlayStation 4. And it was a PS4 game. So in one generation, how much more could you really remaster it, right? That's why certain remasters I'm iffy with, because if it's only one generation away, how big of a jump really is it? And I hope this shows me that, right? Because yeah, I picked up Symphonia Remastered, right? But Symphonia was like a 2004 game for the GameCube. I picked up Vesperia Remastered and Graces F Remastered, but those were 360 and PS3 games. So that's 2 generations. So that's kind of cutting it close. Berseria was a last gen game that I played only like 9 years ago. And that sounds crazy thinking about that, but I was playing that before I even like really was on the YouTube channel. But it had a good story. I liked Berseria, and that's what kind of drove me into wanting to pick this up. It's a long game. It's a JRPG, but the Tales of games, the combat for these games always keeps me drawn in because it's active combat, right? It's not like tactical. It's not turn-based. It really just kind of keeps you focused during the battles. So I like that. So that is my last game that I picked up for this month. Again, a decent amount of things that I got over the last 6-7 weeks that I don't know if I'm proud of or not. You know, I didn't want to have to do a video this soon, but here we are, just so I can put these on the shelf and get them away from like where I'm usually holding them. But if you've played any of these games, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching, guys. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more video game videos and reviews and stuff along those lines. Until next time, until I can't speak today. Do you notice that? Until next time, I will catch you later. See ya. Bye.